So this is probably one of the most brutal and epic takedowns I have ever seen from Stephen Miller, and maybe from anyone in general on CNN. So Stephen Miller, he went on CNN to talk about this Supreme Court decision that is allowing Donald Trump and his administration to revoke the legal status from over 500,000 immigrants who are from Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Haiti. And of course, Stephen Miller here is talking about this situation in the perspective of these nationwide injunctions that they need to stop. They are getting out of control just simply due to the sheer volume. And I want you to listen to this question here. The CNN host, she asked him a question about whether he believes a judge should rubber stamp everything that the Trump administration does. And his response is absolutely perfect. Take a look at this.
Do you think a judge should just rubber stamp what your White House does? If not, what checks and balances do you think should be in place for this White House?
Okay. First of all, I want to kind of give you my opinion on this question. So here, this CNN host is starting with the premise that these nationwide injunctions are somehow normal, okay? But in order to start with that premise and for it to be true, you would have to look at what the norm actually is. And in this case, you can compare the number of nationwide injunctions against President Trump in his first and second term in office against the number of nationwide injunctions against Obama and Joe Biden from their time in office. And if you look here, it's absolutely insane. Okay. Yes. If you look at those red bars in this graph, that's Donald Trump in his first and second term. Okay. The tallest one is Donald Trump in his first term. Okay. He had 64 nationwide injunctions, and already in his first 4 months in office, in his second term, he's at 40. Okay. So this is not even his entire term. This is so far. Donald Trump is at 40 nationwide injunctions. And if you look at these tiny little blue bars here, the smallest of which is Obama in his first term. In his first term, he had two nationwide injunctions, okay? And then in his second term, he had 10. And then Biden, in his first term, he had 14. So if you were to add all of these numbers up, Obama first term, Obama second term, and Biden first term, they would not even equal as many nationwide injunctions as Donald Trump has currently experienced during his first 4 months in office. And also, if you look even closer at where all these lawsuits are coming from, what is the top city or state? I mean, I guess D.C. is not even a state, but guess where they're all coming from, okay? The vast majority of these lawsuits are coming from, you guessed it, Washington, D.C. So I think we can kind of assume that the premise of her question is extremely deceitful. But listen to what Stephen Miller says. It's absolutely amazing.
It's not the job of a district court judge to perform an individual green light or red light on every single policy that the president takes as the head of the executive branch. Just think about the premise baked into your question. Respectfully, Pam, you're saying that when the American people elect a president of the United States of America,
I'm not saying
well, it's the implication, who is the sole head.
Yeah, so this is clearly a question that she was given. And there's a reason for these questions, but Stephen is absolutely right here. So this is Pamela Brown, this fake news CNN host. She is trying to frame her question in a way, or whoever gave her the question is trying to frame this question in a way, as if to imply that the courts are simply fulfilling their duty as a check against the executive branch of government. Nothing is off here. This is what the question implies. Nothing is off here. We're just simply asking this question about, like, why do you think it's bad when the courts are, engaging in checks and balances against the executive government? But Stephen Miller, by saying it's not the job of the judges to say red light or green light on every Trump policy, him saying this is very adequately pointing out that if you actually inspect what the courts are doing, they are essentially acting the same way someone would act if they went around dropping frivolous lawsuits on everyone and everything. For instance, would you consider it is legitimate if you knew someone who filed a lawsuit every time they came across a situation that was remotely uncomfortable to them, and they had racked up hundreds of lawsuits over their lifetime. Now, I don't want to speak for you, but I would be highly skeptical of any lawsuit that they filed, and I would question their actual motives for filing the lawsuits. If they had racked up hundreds over their lifetime, I haven't even filed one. So if I looked at someone and they have filed hundreds of lawsuits, they're just like a normal person, I'd be like, dude, why are you filing all these lawsuits? And I would probably come to some sort of conclusion that they were simply trying to get lucky and win some money by being a nuisance. Kind of similar to this situation, when you simply examine the scale of the lawsuits and nationwide injunctions compared to other presidents, because I remember I showed you where all these lawsuits are coming, and the number of nationwide injunctions compared to Obama and Joe Biden, it is clear what exactly they are trying to do. They are trying to infringe upon the broad powers of the president, which means they're infringing on the right of the American people because we elected him to implement his broad agenda. So this is a fantastic point by Stephen Miller, but listen to the rest of this, because when he tries to get in to what this question is implying, she does not like the fact that he is breaking down his question and pointing out that it is a very dishonest question to start off with. Take a listen.
Of the executive branch. Well, let me finish. I will answer the question happily. But look, when you have these kinds of lazy assumptions built into questions, it makes it hard to have a constructive dialogue.
What is a lazy assumption?
Okay. I don't believe this is a lazy assumption. I believe that this is purposefully put into the question. The assumption is baked into the question, not because it was lazy. I will disagree with Stephen Miller here. I don't believe that assumption was just put in there haphazardly. I think this was strategically placed because they want to frame this whole situation in a way that the American people looks at and they say, oh yeah, this is what the courts do. Yeah, we should expect the courts to act as a check and balance against a president, and never look at the fact that the sheer volume of these nationwide injunctions against President Trump is mountains compared to anything that Obama or Joe Biden experienced.
I said you all had to win.
You said no. You said, is it my expectation?
I'm speaking
you
because
said,
now you're putting...
You said, is it my expectation? It's not just you. It's the whole media. In other words, when you hear a sentence...
He's right.
It is a completely fair question. You said
no, it's not.
No. And I will gladly answer it. When you say, do we think district court judges should rubber stamp each action? There is a premise that is built into that is absurd. The president is the sole head of the executive branch. He's the only officer in the entire government that's elected by the entire American people. Democracy cannot function. In fact, democracy does not exist at all if each action the president takes, foreign policy, diplomatic, military, national security, has to be individually approved by 700 district court judges. That's democracy. So if there's 15 communist crazy judges on the court, that each of them as a team working together can block and freeze each and every executive action.
Exactly. And man, I just absolutely love this. And you can tell
a judge should just rubber
you can
stamp
tell, hold on a second. Shut up, Pamela Brown. You can tell that she does not like him kind of breaking down her question and telling the American people really what she is implying in this question. And what she is implying is that this is perfectly fine. This graph right here is perfectly fine. This is perfectly normal. The fact that Donald Trump in his second term has experienced more nationwide injunctions than Obama in his first and second term and Biden in his first term combined, that is somehow the courts acting as a check and balance against Donald Trump. No, it's not even close. You see this. His first term was 64, and he's already more than halfway past the halfway mark in his second term now. This is not normal. Also, when you look at this graph right here, I mean, you probably have seen this graph before, where all these lawsuits are coming from. Washington, D.C. Is that any surprise? No, this is not normal. Therefore, a question like that is not a legitimate question. It is framed for a specific purpose, and she probably knows this. And for sure, whoever wrote the question knows this. They did this for a reason. But what do you guys think? I mean, Stephen Miller, man, like he is so good at these types of things. He is so good at really breaking down what exactly one of these fake news media hosts are trying to imply in their questions, what they're trying to say, reading between the lines. and really explaining things in a very easy way to understand. But what do you guys think? Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. But until then, I'll see you on the next one.